I want to talk about this season for the Arizona Cardinals. And I want to talk about what happens if things go well, if things go poorly. And this is inspired by watching the original Spider-Mans this past weekend, just on the way up or in my bed, watching the original Spider-Man. And thinking of all the alternate realities that could have happened in those Marvel movies. Of course, that one's probably one of my favorites, but let's talk about Marvel style. What happens if the Arizona Cardinals season falls flat on their face? This season, for the Arizona Cardinals, there is so much at stake, and don't let anyone else tell you any different. This season has a ton at stake. If the Arizona Cardinals miss the playoffs this year, and let's say they win 6-7 games, Jonathan Gannon and Monti Ossenfort are immediately on the hot seat. Kyler Murray is not the quarterback of this team next year. And the biggest worry about any of this is you aren't going to have a draft pick bad enough to select a new quarterback. And then you're wondering, are you getting rid of Drew Petzing too? This season has so much riding on it. If the Cardinals fall flat on their face, people are losing their jobs. And players that were on this team this year will not be here next year. And I'm talking about guys like James Conner maybe getting dealt for a late-round pick, Budda Baker getting moved because you realize you aren't close, wondering if you have the right guy in Marvin Harrison Jr., questioning whether you need to move on from Kyler Murray, but is Bidwell man enough to swallow that massive cap hit and bring in a new guy? Jonathan Gannon, all the stock we had in him, we're saying to ourselves, is he just a lot of talk? Is he just a lot of sizzle, but not really a lot of steak? Monti Ossenfort, if this team falls flat on its face, it means his draft picks did not come ready to play correctly. And you're talking about, okay, so Rabbit Taylor Demerson maybe took a step back, or Jordan Birch wasn't what we thought he was. Walter Nolan missed most of the year. These are all real concerns for the Arizona Cardinals. And so to act like this season is just big for Kyler Murray would be disingenuous. Because Jonathan Gannon and Monti Ossenfort had multiple different chances to get a different quarterback. But they decided Kyler Murray is their guy. So whether they like it or not, whether they're okay with it or not, they have tied their futures to one Kyler Murray. So if this season goes poorly, let's say Kyler Murray just gets hurt. Let's say Kyler has a torn pec or tears his hamstring. One of those injuries that isn't career ending but takes him out for the rest of the season, breaks his collarbone. Or let's just say Kyler has a high ankle sprain. He's out for 5-6 weeks. The Cardinals have tied themselves to Kyler Murray. But even more specifically, Monti Ossenfort and Jonathan Gannon have tied themselves to Kyler Murray. So as much as you and I are both like, this season, a lot of it rides on Kyler, it's not just that. There is much more to this Kyler Murray thing, meaning Kyler Murray has to perform so that other people on this staff don't lose their jobs. So this season has a lot riding on it. And I'm not saying this is the direction the season's going. If you're telling me Kyler Murray either won MVP and Jonathan Gannon got Coach of the Year, or the Cardinals fell flat on their faces, injuries aside, let's say that there was no injuries, I'm taking the first of the two things. I believe this team is ready to compete now. I have concerns about Kyler. For some reason, you guys have painted me as anti-Kyler Murray, and that is just, that is the stupidest argument you could make. If you are someone that is coming after me for being anti-Kyler Murray, specify why you think that. Because my life is 10 times better if Kyler Murray is good. I'm rooting on the guy to succeed this year. But I have pessimistic expectations because I look at the last 6 years. And if you don't do that, you can live in La La Land. I'm not going to do that. I'm rooting for Kyler. I think there's a world where he can be awesome, and I've seen him at the peak of his powers. It makes it incredibly difficult to quit him. Now let's go to the other Marvel Universe alternate reality. What happens if the Arizona Cardinals are bleeping awesome this year? What happens if the Redbirds are a game away from the conference championship game, or they make the conference championship, or they make the Super Bowl? That's a little far-fetched even for me, but still, I am very bullish on this team. And I'm kind of really bullish on Kyler, even though I'm trying not to be, because I've seen what he's been over the last 6 years. But this is the best team Kyler Murray has ever had. This is the best team Jonathan Gannon has had. Maybe I'd argue this Cardinals team on paper is on par with the Philadelphia Eagles team that went to the Super Bowl. I know Jalen Hurts was really good then, and maybe I'm being a little too bullish, and I'll wear that. I will wear that. That might be a little far. But if you told me that this Cardinals team went to the conference championship game this year, you had a crystal ball, and you were telling me the future, I would believe you. Because I believe this team, 1 through 52, 1 through 53, is really talented. Really freaking talented. This is a top 10 roster in football. You might not like their wide receiving room, but I do. I like Michael Wilson. I like Zay Jones. I love Trey McBride. James Conner. The offensive line, yes, I have some questions about it, but they did get some depth. Kelvin Beachum, John Gaines, Will Hernandez is here again. It's got some good depth. The biggest question for the Arizona Cardinals last year was this defensive line, and I believe they solved it. It's why I'm not upset that they didn't get Micah Parsons. I'm allowed to change my opinion. But if the Cardinals turn into a legit playoff threat and not just contender, we're talking about a few different things. Jonathan Gannon and Monti Ossenfort are getting fat extensions. Kyler Murray is getting extended, whether you like it or not. And then you're talking about this team probably not winning the Super Bowl, but knowing maybe they're a piece or two away. And knowing that even with some concerns about Kyler, and I think even the biggest Kyler Murray fan, if they were honest with you, would tell you he's got some concerns. And even with the biggest concerns for Kyler, you look at Brock Purdy, you look at Jalen Hurts, and I think Kyler Murray is on par with those guys. And if that's the case, then we have to say to ourselves, you can win a Super Bowl with Kyler. So then you go into next season and you're saying, okay, this team made it to the divisional round. We are 1 or 2 pieces away. Let's strike while the iron is hot. And I don't know what that looks like. Maybe it's another premier pass catcher, or a premium blue chip cornerback, or maybe it's a blue chip defensive back, or a blue chip pass rusher. I do think that could genuinely be the case for the Cardinals this year. They add one more guy to the mix. And so, in totality, if we're talking about alternate realities, or whatever they call it in Marvel, maybe not alternate realities, but whatever, you guys know what I'm talking about. It's in the Spider-Man movies, but alternate realities for this team. We're talking about it going one of two ways. If this team completely blows it up because their season went incredibly awry, we're talking about Jonathan Gannon maybe being on the hot seat next year, Monti Ossenfort being on the hot seat, as well as Kyler Murray. Or do we have a new quarterback? And then if the season goes incredibly well, which I am more bullish on believing it will than believing it won't. So don't paint me as that guy that thinks it's going to be a bad year. I've already picked the Cardinals to win the NFC West. But let's say they win the NFC West. They go to the playoffs. I believe this team, this time next year, we'll be talking about adding one more piece. But let's talk about the worst thing that can happen. The absolute worst thing that can happen. Because then we don't know where we stand. Let's say the Cardinals make the playoffs and Kyler Murray looks horrendous in a playoff game. Are you getting rid of him? He made the playoffs. Or let's say Kyler Murray looks good or good enough and this team just misses the playoffs. Well, who's the problem? Jonathan Gannon? Drew Petzing? Kyler Murray? That's the worst thing that can happen, is this team makes the playoffs and Kyler Murray looks awful in a playoff game, or Kyler Murray looks awesome and they just miss the playoffs. Because then you don't know what you're doing at quarterback. If you make the playoffs, are you getting rid of Drew Petzing? They improved again. And then defensively, were your draft picks bad? Or did you not target the right guys in free agency? Should you have made that big trade? At least if this season goes horribly, you can point out what the problem probably is. And if the season goes incredibly well, you know who you're handing out extensions to. The worst thing that can have is that you're in the middle. Because then you really don't have a good draft pick to select a new quarterback or some premium position. You don't know who the issue is. Are you getting rid of Petzing? Are you getting rid of Kyler? Well, one guy's making a lot of money. This season needs clarity, whether in a good way or in a bad way. We need to be able to select who the problem is or who the solution was. So with that being said, my final prediction, live from Carlsbad, California, San Diego, right on the border. I believe this team, God, why am I saying this? I believe this team wins the NFC West. God, why am I saying this? I've been the realistic fan all year. But I got to say it. I believe this Cardinals team wins the NFC West, and they make the conference championship game, and they lose. You either believe in Monti Ossenfort and Jonathan Gannon's culture and coaching. You either believe in these draft picks, or you don't. You either believe in Jonathan Gannon and Monti Ossenfort's coaching and culture, or you don't. You either believe in Kyler Murray that he can have a consistent season, not even an MVP season, or you don't. And I've been very realistic on this team over the past few seasons. I didn't take them to win the NFC West last year. But because of this roster, because I believe Kyler Murray can take that next step, because I like James Conner and the leadership of this team and Budda Baker as well, if I'm making my final predictions of the year, I'm not saying they're going to make the Super Bowl. I'm not saying they're going to win the NFC. But I believe because the NFC is so bad, because I saw Jalen Hurts and Brock Purdy the last couple of years not just make the conference championship game, but make the Super Bowl. The last few quarterbacks in the conference championship game, Jared Goff, Jaden Daniels, who was a rookie, Brock Purdy, Jalen Hurts, those were the guys. So you're telling me Kyler Murray can't fit in that group? I do. And because I believe in Gannon, the culture, the draft picks, Monty, this is my prediction. I believe this Cardinals team wins the NFC West and makes the conference championship game and loses. And this time next year, we're talking about Kyler Murray extension, or this time next year, we have a Kyler Murray extension, the GM and head coach are getting extended, and we are pinpointing one player, maybe two, to go all in on, push the chips in the table, Chandler Jones 2014, 2015 style, and bringing in that blue chip player to help get this team to where they want to go. And that is ultimately a Super Bowl. But I feel really good about this team this year. So there you go for all the people that pessimistic Cardinal fan. No, I'm just honest. And if I'm wrong, I will absolutely wear it. But this team is too good to fail horrendously or miss the playoffs. And if they do, we're talking about major changes.